So that's where we were. I was saying defending democratic values, like we, I mean, this is just me speculating, like if this Ukraine-Russia war continues, like maybe some KDF could loosely be sent
Because remember,
to the front line.
like you just mentioned, remember, there's a proxy war going in
Sudan.
And who are the proxies?
The two proxies are the US and Russia.
Yeah.
It's the US and Russia because the US, like they coaxed Sudan into, because Sudan was also in that normalization game, that word normalization is very sacrilegious, na sisi, watu wa Palestine. With that word has become so dirty, like even in the Arab world, that now the countries
it is haram.
The words the countries that were actually proceeding with that normalization.
Hey, don't say the word.
That word. They're now hesitating. They're thinking twice about it because with whatever is happening in Gaza, it has become very problematic. Remember, Sudan was coaxed into what was called the Abraham Accords during President Trump's presidency, which was being brokered by Jared Kushner. The Abraham Accords, that's what birthed this normalization. And some countries, of course, Saudi Arabia was on top of the pyramid. I think Sudan was there. And they did agree to some certain normalization. And in exchange, they were getting diplomatic ties with the US. Because remember, the US cut diplomatic ties with Sudan because of harboring of Osama bin Laden and all that stuff, and Al Qaeda and all that stuff. But now they were in exchange they were getting back diplomatic ties, and there was some Sudanese money that was being held that was gonna be released back to them.
Now, before you proceed, go too far. You said Abraham Accords. For those who may not know, what are Abraham Accords?
So the Abraham Accords, is this deals that the Trump administration signed up at the same time when they were taking the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Which has some symbolic.
That's another story.
Yeah,
you should watch those documentaries.
Yeah,
Nakba.
So remember, there was a time one of the I don't know that it was the first trip that Trump made abroad was to Saudi Arabia. The trip where he was doing the sword dance. Where he was fitted to a very lavish ceremony. So that's where these deals were being crafted, and the idea was to completely kill the Palestine cause from the people's conscience, because the Arab world, they always had that policy that we cannot relate to Israel. In fact, most of them do not have diplomatic relations with Israel because of Palestine. They cut diplomatic relations from back when those wars started, or they never, let's say they never opened up diplomatic relations with Israel. Yeah. An exception is Egypt. And guess what happened in Egypt? Because Egypt, opened up diplomatic relations with Israel in the 70s, back in the 70s.
Anwar
Sadat, he got assassinated. Anwar Sadat was the Egyptian president.
Yes.
So this thing is very serious.
You even remember?
It's no joke.
The guy of the career, the Nobel Peace Prize winning former premier, Yitzhak Rabin.
Yeah.
There were
assassination.
Because there was an attempt to try, whatever
I think
it was.
at the time it was the Oslo Accords.
Yes, the Oslo Accords. They were trying to carry out.
They were trying to. It was the closest they came to a two-state solution.
Yes,
but
Jama was by a Zionist. Buddha boss.
Yeah, he was taken out.
Yeah. Yes.
So this thing, I think it's important because I think geopolitics has become a not very important topic, especially in Kenyan education curriculums and even in Kenyan homes. These are things that people don't talk about, but they have a direct impact.
Yes,
with what's happening.
It affects them country. Directly.
Yeah,
kabisa.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Abraham Accords.
Yes.
So Sudan was part of that deal, and what happened when Sudan at some point refused to do the bidding for I don't know exactly what happened, but the American ambassador in Sudan left. So right now, so I don't know what that has done to the newly reinstated diplomatic ties between Sudan and the U.S. because the American ambassador, left Sudan and came back, and there's basically no American embassy in the Sudan anymore. So we have to be very careful. I know Kenya has been very peaceful, and people always keep saying this thing, oh, this can never happen to us, this can never happen to us. We've seen things happening to countries where we never thought something would happen to them. So we must be very careful.
Because the only reason this can happen is because of the leaders we have elected who decide to go and do madhogodhanio. That's why we always say elections have consequences.
Yeah. Okay. And then Pablo is saying Kenya has also reached out to the US for support after Kenya was grey-listed in courts. Maybe Pablo, tell us more about that being grey-listed. Hopefully after that dinner, Kenya will be wash free. So
that is pertaining to corruption, if I'm not wrong. I'd seen something like that in Peter Kwatika, but I think it has something to do with corruption. Na tumeingishwa sasa hiyo box ya
So Patrick is saying they better do dirty work with US rather than with China or Russia. I don't know, like if this was Ali, like 5-10 years ago, like I would have agreed with Patrick. But when you look at, like places, since the US went unipolar after the Soviets fell in 1991.
Wherever US has gone, there has been problems.
It has turned to dust.
It's madhogodhanio.
Wherever US, we love the US, we live here, and unfortunately, we funded money that has gone to kill people in other countries.
Yes.
This is something that we have to live with, and that's why...
You don't even have to go far, bro. When you look at what's going on in Gaza,
it's American
weapons.
It's American weapons. It's American companies that are making those weapons.
Yes.
Like America has the ability to shut it off.
Yes.
But they have not done that. So, since that time, like we count all the countries that America has gone to, we're talking about Iraq, we're talking about Afghanistan,
Vietnam.
There was Syria to a certain extent. Syria, there was officially no boots on the ground, but there were some boots
the proxies,
here and there.
Libya.
Yeah, look at Libya, and that was Obama's biggest blunder.
Yes,
I personally can never forgive Obama for that. Yeah, I can never forgive Obama for that, and he acknowledges it in his own book.
Yes,
that's one thing. Yes, Obama, we are comrades, we are Kenyans, but that we shall never forgive you.
Livambo.
Yes.
Livambo.
We shall never, a country that was perfectly functioning, like that even people were going in from other countries to find jobs there. Now it has fallen apart.
It's madhogodhanio.
Yeah. So all these places, that the US has gone, they've all turned to dust. In this whole period, because remember this unipolar period lasted...
Does Somalia count?
US, okay, well, I would say US was in Somalia.
Black Hawk Down.
But I don't know whether I would say...
I don't think they were like deep in it.
But you see, US...
They were deep. They
were there, yeah. They fungered Virago.
They fungered Virago and exited stage left.
But I think Somalia had already fell before the US came, because they did not have an operational government at the time. They already, like warlords, Kina Mohammed Farah did. They were already in operation at the time. So I think America was trying to come to secure, and America has also previously used Ethiopian forces to try to go to Somalia. And Somalis and Ethiopians, they, ni pamba na moto. Like they don't get along at all. And even, like when you look at the rise of Al-Shabaab, it was back in 2006 when Ethiopian troops were sent to Somalia. That's when they became radicalized, because I think at the point they were taking over city to city. They were trying to see if they could like just take over different cities and have like a government based on Islamic Sharia. And America kasikia Islamic Sharia, ikajua hapa ni kubaya, and that's why they sent like Ethiopian troops. And that's the point when now Al-Shabaab became the militant wing, because the organization itself had a structure, and this is history here. This is not Ali talking. You can always go back to Google and figure out. It had a structure. It had some elders. It had a fighting unit. But the problem, after the Ethiopians came and the fighting started and then they left, now the fighting unit is the one that now took over. Ikasema hawa wazee weko too slow.
Wakwende.
Yeah. So that's when, things now started, going haywire. But that was back then.